Hey guys, welcome to this week's track guide. This week we're at Suzuka. I haven't done much practice for the track guide this week. I've been taking a break over Christmas and drinking and eating lots, as you do. There's still plenty of time to be found, but hopefully this will help some of you guys out. Make sure you check out my Twitch channel this week. The lap times are probably going to get quicker, so if you want to pop by there, see some actual races, make sure you do. Right, let's get into it. Okay then guys, weather this week, track and air temperature both at 20 degrees, and date and time set to what the official sessions are going to be set to next week. Setup this week, 54% brake bias, minimum tyre pressures all around, fuel level 7.9 for Qually, 11.8 for the race. Anti-roll bars on 8, and I've got the SPO on 3 this week, though it may be a little bit low. You've got to kind of avoid the curves to the double right-hander, or the fast double right-hander. So I may drop this to a 2 or 1 or even a 0 this week, depending on how the races go. But I'm going to start on a 3 and see where it goes. Okay then guys, the lap I'm going to show this week is a 2:23.692. Not the best lap, there's still probably another 0.6 to be found, and I normally do double the amount of laps in practice, but being Christmas week, I just haven't had the time. Been drinking far too much. Right then, here we are, just about to cross the start finish line, coming down towards turn 1. Quite a long straight down in towards turn 1. Plenty of draft, no doubt. Right then, as you can see, just before we hit the 50-meter board, if I go to the cockpit, you see, just before we hit the 50-meter board, and I'm also looking at this bit of orange fence spear is what I also like to use as a brake marker on the edge of the screen. So as we come up towards it, as we hit it, off the brakes, about 25% brake in as we turn the car in. So as you can see, we're turning the car in first. We're pointing the car in towards the corner, and then when the car is pointing towards the corner, I drop the car into 4th gear. I'm going to leave it in 4th to carry as much speed through this first corner as we can. I'm going to turn the car a little bit, and then we're going to point the car straight here. And then when the car is straight, we're going to tap the brakes just to slow the car down a bit more. And as we tap the brakes here, we're going to go down into 3rd gear. I don't tend to go out wide here, I don't really need to. Little feather of the throttle, just to control the car on the way round. Going a bit too slow now. Before we get confident, as you see, we get back on the gas here. Not quite to 100%, but a little bit off before we get to 100%. I go to the chase. You see, I'm kind of avoiding this curb here. If mounting this curve will give you a little bit of wheel spin, which I tend to not like, so I tend to get as close to it as I can, but not without actually touching it. Off the exit, you shouldn't need to use any of this curve out here. Bring the car to the right hand side of the track. We're going to go up into 4th gear here. If you've done it right, this corner should be flat. Use all the curb here, including this bit of green stuff. Loads of curb, keep it in 4th, flat out through there. Straighten the car up. Off the accelerator, no brakes necessary, down into 3rd. Touch the curb there. Just be a little bit careful on this curb. Again, it's one of these curbs where it can generate a little bit of wheel spin off it if you're not careful. But the most important thing is when you drop the car on the 3rd, you shouldn't need to touch the brakes at all. Carry as much speed through these corners as you possibly can. Back to 100%. We're going to keep it in 3rd for the time being. Try to keep the car over to the right hand side of the track, as far over as you can. You can see I'm not using all of the track over here because it would just take too long to bring the car back over to this side of the track again. This corner should also be nearly flat. You can see I have a little bit of a lift here. Again, watching these curves can generate a little bit of wheel spin. You can't. I have taken this flat on previous laps, but when you do take it flat, the car can get a little bit slidey and you can scrub off a little bit too much speed. So I tend a little bit of a lift through it, but not much. Again, keeping the car to the left hand side as we turn in towards this next bend. Off the accelerator here, not all the way. We're going to hold it about 40-50%. Feather the throttle all the way through here. I'm delaying. I delay it a little bit to get back on the power. You can get back on the power here, halfway through this corner. But if you get back on the power here, you end up over this left-hand side of the track. But again, you want to keep the car over to the right-hand side. So I just delay the throttle a little bit just to allow me to keep the car on this right-hand side of the track. And then when it's on the right, you keep it. You turn into this corner, and then this corner's flat. So up into third, up into fourth. And then you can use this exit if you need to on this right-hand side, and then bring the car back to the left. Most important thing to note is just delaying a little bit of throttle through this corner, just so you can keep the car on the right-hand side of the track, just so you can make sure that this next corner is then flat out. And then you can gain time down towards this this next double right-hander. Okay, bring the car over to the left hand side, shortest way of the track. We're in fourth gear. All the way on the left, keeping the car on the left. As we come up towards this corner, we're going to stay in fourth gear, just before the 50-meter board. We go into cockpit. Just before the 50-meter board. We're going to keep it in fourth, a little bit of brake just to slow the car down and turn the car in a little bit. Turning the car in, we're going to eat some of this curb here. This is where it might change. I'm using a 3 SPO here, but I may change it down, make the car a little bit higher. So you can take a little bit more of this curb if you really need to. But we'll see if I change that as the week goes on. Okay, a little bit of a lift through this corner. As we're off it, we get immediately back to 100%. This curb on the outside here is a little bumpy. If you touch a screen, if you go too far off, you'll get an off track, so just be careful of this. But if you are going too fast through that corner in a race, then you could take the off track if you really need to. This, the circuit is a little bit bumpy over here, so just be careful in the braking zone as you go over here. You can see the car is just getting a little bit bumpy. Now, I haven't really got a brake marker for this. I kind of using the end of these tire. You see these tire markers go off. As you get to the end of these tire markers here, taking me a few laps to get used to, but that's kind of what I'm using as a brake marker through here. As we get to the end here, we're gonna look. We're gonna brake. We're gonna switch the car down into third gear. And that's a better brake marker, isn't it? Using that the end of this green stuff here. Although I am braking a little bit before it. We're going to go drop the car in the third gear, 50% braking. Turn the car in, we're off the brakes here. Feather the throttle, we're going to take plenty of all this curb here, including this green stuff. You can take even more than this actually. You can get right over here. And then before getting be confident enough to get back to 100% throttle on the exit. Again, same thing as the previous corner. You can use all this curb on exit, but if you go any wider than this, all this green stuff out here is an off track. But in a race, if you're going too fast through there, do not touch the brakes here to slow the car down to stop you getting an off track unless you're on 16x. If you're going too fast here, don't touch the brakes to avoid the off track. Just flat out and just take. You can drive on this over here, no problem. Just take the off track if you need to, because if you lose too much time, then obviously you're going to lose the person in front or the car behind you is going to catch up, etc., etc. Unless, of course, you're trying to get safety rating, in which case. Right then, down towards the hairpin, we're going to keep it in fourth gear. Flat out through this little right-hand corner. I'm using this last lamppost here, so as we hit this lamppost, off, down into third, really hard braking zone. You can see I'm at 75% here. We're going to drop the car down into first gear. really get on the inside of this, but avoid this inside curb. Again, it's one of these wheel spinny corners, which can cause a little bit of wheel spin if you get too much tyre on it, which will then give you a bad exit. So use as much of the inside here as you can without actually touching this curb. You see, I'm just nipped it a little bit before getting back on the throttle 100%. And then touching that curb on the outside. Okay, up in the third, up in the fourth. And this is probably one of the most tricky corners on the track for me. It took me a couple of goes to get this right. We're going to be in fifth gear. I'm looking at this pavement here. Cockpit. As we go past the pavement, we're going to turn the car in, point the car towards the corner, drop the car in the fourth with a little bit of braking. A little bit of trail braking here. Going to keep it in fourth as we go around and let the car drift to the exit, also dropping it to third. Sometime, depending on how cold or how warm the tyres are, it depends. I do go down in the third because you need to be in third for this next corner. Sometimes I really delay until I get down here somewhere, but just before we get into this corner, and sometimes I'll do it when we're midway through the corner, especially if I need some extra rotation through this first corner. As you can see, I'm halfway through this corner and I drop it to third here. Back on the power briefly. You really want to be using more of the track here, but it's hard to get the car out. You can use all this curve out here, and this is where you really want the car. Another half a car's width also over this side of the track to really open up this next corner. But it's really difficult to get the car really over. You really have to fight the car to get over here because you're trying to turn left, but you're also trying to let the car drift out to the right hand side at the same time. Makes the corner a little bit tricky. I'm going to keep it in third. Going to pretty much coast halfway through this corner before we can get back on the power again. A little bit of a lift there, but using this curve on the exit again, be wary of the off track there. And we're going to get the car up in the fifth gear, bringing the car to the right hand side of the track for this fast left-hander. Now then, this fast left-hander, I'm pretty sure you can do it flat, but it takes balls of steel. And a lot of practice. It took me a lot of practice to just get a little lift through here. This corner takes a lot of practice, and if you lift too much, you can easily lose a tenth or two, or even 3/10 if you're not doing it properly. And then you probably gain a tenth if you do keep it flat, if you're able to. But better to be safe, I suppose, than to end up in the wall and the gravel out there. Okay. As we come up, I'm looking at this 50-meter board. As we come up towards it, we're going to turn in very slightly. Turn the car in, see a little lift down to about 30% or so. Completely missing the apex. You can really touch this apex a little bit. To turn the car in, you can go across here before then getting back onto 100% power. And then letting the car drift to the right hand side. Takes a lot of practice, guys. If you do it in a practice session, fine. I said it can be done flat, and I have done it flat, but probably to be better, to be safer than sorry in this case. You wouldn't be able to do it flat in qualifying anyway, so it's not as if it's going to gain you much time. But through the race, if you're looking to gain a tenth or two on the car in front of you, or trying to catch up the car in front of you, then maybe you can try taking a little bit quicker, but just be careful. Okay, up towards the last chicane. Fifth gear, we're going to bring the car to the left hand side. I'm looking at this 100-meter board and this advert thing going across the track here. I'm braking halfway in between. So as we get in sort of halfway in between is when we get on the brakes. And then the hard braking zone, we're going to go from fifth all the way down into second gear. Keeping the car to the left hand side of the track. I'm going to turn it in. we're going to take some of this entry curve here. Just a thing to note, some people will probably take this in first gear. I tend to like to use higher gear, so I'm keeping it in second. A lot of people, if you're going slower than this or you're fighting into this corner with somebody else, then take it in first gear. Otherwise, I keep it in second anyway, but I'm pretty sure some people will keep it in first. If you go through here in first, then you're going to have to go up into second gear on this corner here. I find that I gain time down the home straight if I keep it in second all the way through this chicane. But again, practice, guys. Do what works best for you. Okay, second gear. Going to try really hard to keep the car on the right hand side. Little blip of the throttle. Turning left, we're going to eat all this curb. Wheels on the green stuff. Back to 100% throttle as soon as we can. And we're going to use all of this exit curb here as well. Really, really important to get a good drive out of this corner, because it's this next bit is obviously the home straight, and it's really long back down into turn 1 again. And that completes the track guide for this week, guys. Remember, if this guide helps you out, please remember to smash the like button on the video, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe as well. The B-lap, O-lap, telemetry, replay, whatever other files you want, setup files, are going to be on my Discord. There's an invite link down in the description for that. And that, guys, happy racing this week, and I'll see you next week.